Word of prayer.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you for today, Lord. We thank you for loving us. We thank you for the gift of salvation. We thank you that we have the honor to come here and assemble today and to make decisions on behalf of the people of the state of Georgia. And we just ask that you, Lord, give us wisdom, discernment, and good judgment as we go about that. And, Lord, we just ask that you please be with our friends in the Ukraine, Lord, as they fight for their freedom. And, Lord, we just thank you for all the many blessings that you give us, Lord. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. We've had some late changes to the agenda. A lot of scrambling around under the Gold Dome these last few days, and in the upcoming days, we will have a meeting on Monday at 2 o'clock in this room, and that'll be our last meeting before crossover. So I hate to bring you all back up here on Monday, but we got a lot of business to tend to. So we'll see how that goes then. Bills to have a chance to cross over have to be reported out of committee before we gavel in on Wednesday. And I think everybody's quite aware of that. So first on the agenda, Senator Jones, the minority whip, has had a study committee over the summer, and I think Senate Bill 537 is a result of their work in the study committee on food deserts and food insecurity. So I'll turn the mic over to you, Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is pursuant to a bipartisan study committee that existed over the summer. We had 5 meetings from August to November. We basically had over 50 stakeholders that got involved and actually came and gave testimony. Those stakeholders were very different, wide swath of the state of Georgia. We were from Chamber of Commerce, the Georgia food industry, food bank directors, schools, also various state agencies we also were able to hear from. So that was always very important that we brought everybody to the table and everybody had an opportunity to express some of the concerns that they had. So one of the conclusions that we came to, of course, that this is a pervasive problem. Food deserts, really what we learned is actually called food insecurity, not food deserts, but we learned that food insecurity is something that is rampant throughout Georgia. It's not a suburban problem, an urban problem, or a rural, but is one that is all over this particular state. When we made our recommendations, our first 2 recommendations were, we had 10 recommendations, and our first 2 was, number 1, to create a database or a website that would actually track food insecurity issues, like what food banks are operating, who's trying to deal with the issue of food insecurity. That process has already started. We've met with Commissioner Gary Black. He's been very receptive. We've actually asked for money into the budget to basically create that and continue to move that forward. And the second recommendation was to create this Food Policy Council. The reason being, there are so many issues that overlayer with each other. It's difficult for us to just come up with one piece of legislation or even a couple of pieces of legislation in one session. And so this council is made up of different persons. And I'll give you an example of a couple of issues that are just very layered. For instance, there are grocery store owners, and you will see one of the persons that will get an appointment on this particular council is the person who owns a grocery store. There are grocery store owners who say, you know, one of the issues we're having is that with WIC and SNAP, we're not able to basically keep our WIC or SNAP license, for lack of a better term, because of certain regulatory things that are out there in the state. Well, we can't necessarily tackle regulations immediately in one bill, but when we have this Food Policy Council, now we can kind of sit everybody down and really work through these issues as far as WIC and SNAP is concerned. We want to make sure that they're able to keep their licenses. We want to make sure the licenses to be able to get the license actually is much easier if possible, and that's something that's not going to be able to necessarily be done in just one session through a few hearings here or there. Another issue that comes up is the aspect of grocery stores, and you'll see on number 8, as far as a person being appointed, we have what we call Emerging Atlanta. And what they've been doing is working with what we call new market tax credits. It's a very complicated tax structure, but what they're able to do is actually encourage grocery stores to open up into different localities. And so that's why they're on there. So we wanted to make sure that this wasn't just a policy council of persons who are in the university system, or just a policy council of activists, or just a policy council of Chamber of Commerce people. It's going to be a policy council of all of those persons to work together and help solve the food insecurity problem that we have in Georgia. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'd be glad to take any questions.
Thank you, sir. Just for clarification to the committee members, This is a late arriving committee substitute, and it's LC 480574S, which should be in the one you have in your folder. That's correct.
That's correct.
Isn't it?
Yes.
And because it was late arriving, the bill summary has some just handwritten edits on it. And if you have any questions about that, we'll be happy to address those. I do have a question from the senator at mic 12.
Is that me? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not a question, but just a statement of this was probably one of the most insightful and rewarding committees that I've served on since becoming a member of the Senate. It was well run by the senator from the, what's your number?
22nd.
20. I can't remember all those numbers. And I'm just so appreciative of this and the individuals that participated. We had, and he was a tyrant. I mean, we had meetings and meetings and meetings, and we stayed there until every last person that offered suggestions participated. So just wanted to say that. It was quite an experience and quite rewarding. Thank you so much for allowing me to serve.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for those comments. And most of us that serve on this committee probably represent counties that don't have a grocery store. So this is a timely and important issue. Any other questions at this time? We do have some people signed up to testify. All three of them are for the bill, but if there are no, okay. Do you have a question, Senator Anderson?
Senator, are you a farmer?
No, I'm not. But I learned from a blueberry farmer up there, the senator from the 8th.
Thank you for bringing this.
Thank you. That's right. Yes.
Not to put you on the spot, Senator, but do you who served? Was this only senators on this study?
This is only senators on this particular study. It was Senator Hickman, Senator Goodman, Senator Sims, and also myself, and also Senator Gooch was on there.
Okay, thank you. Senator Harper.
I think, Mr. Chairman, just more of a comment. First off, Senator Jones, thank you for your work on the study committee, and thank you for the bill. To Senator Anderson's point of asking Senator Jones if he is a farmer, I think I can tell you in conjunction with what Senator Goodman did with the bill, the Farm to Food Bank bill, and with the work that Senator Jones is doing on this underlying bill, we are definitely working to bridge that gap between the farm and the fork, between the farmer and the consumer. And I think we've got to continue to work to do that, to ensure that all those across our state have healthy access to healthy foods. And so I appreciate your work on it, and I look forward to our continued collaboration together in that effort. So I just want to tell you thank you and expand on what Senator Anderson was getting at, I think. So
Thank you.
But thank you, Senator Jones.
Thank you.
That was a good point, Chairman. And Chairman Harper and I just left a joint House Senate oversight and Senator Goodman oversight committee meeting and Senator Hatchett was there for the state farmers market. Senator Anderson, and they can play a role in this too, I think. So we're all kind of working in the same, pulling in the same direction. Like a good team of mules, I guess.
Yes.
All right. First to testify, Miss Amy Sharma with Science for Georgia.
Thank you. Senator Jones?
Did I get that right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. Thank you.
We have science in Georgia, so we're doing it, right? So I wanted to say thank y'all. You guys seem pretty favorable to this bill, so I'll keep my comments short. I am Dr. Amy Sharma. I'm the Executive Director of Science for Georgia. We met Senator Jones through this committee. We're super pleased that we were able to present to his committee over the summer. And it's so exciting to see all the things that were recommended move forward. The Farm to Food Bank bill is another important part of this whole system, mainly because we haven't changed food policy in over 50 years. And so now we're stuck with a patchwork. And so that's why people are stuck in this vicious cycle of food insecurity. And so we're really excited to see all of this move forward. The evidence is behind how if all of these people work together to bring better solutions to the table and share selections across what we're talking about, the farm sector and the agriculture sector and universities and food banks and everything else. We've all got to kind of come together and talk about what's working and what's not to bring it forward. So we thank everyone for their hard work, and we're really excited to move forward on this, and we 100% support this bill. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions for Amy? All right, thank you. Next, we have Kwabena Cubby Nkomo, Georgia Food Policy Council. And introduce yourself, because I'm sure I screwed that up.
You didn't do too bad, sir. Actually, it's Kwabena Cubby Nkomo. It's fine. And I am the chair of the Georgia Food Policy Council that currently exists, which is a private sector effort. Good morning, everyone. I'm here again in support of this legislation. I had the honor to be a part of the folks who presented to the study committee. Got a chance to meet Senator Goodman, some other folks during that process. And it was really, again, I'd like to affirm what Senator Powell-Sim said. It was a thorough, complete, highly professional process. We all felt really included. We felt heard, me and my colleagues who work in this sector already. And I'd like to commend Senator Jones and his committee members for the inclusive and thorough job they did. Many folks who have not had their hard work acknowledged over the years, who've been working in this area, got a chance to share their hard-won insights about what is needed and what works. This work has been predominantly carried out by actors like myself in the academic, nonprofit, and private sectors thus far in Georgia. It is critically important to have public policy leadership to step up in this area and to meet the current challenges we have in Georgia. So this work is really important, and this legislation is really a big step in that direction. I like to say that it's not enough to leave state-level food policy to the federal government. A lot of us, know about all the relief programs that come from the USDA, and they are really significant, but it's really important to have local, customized responses to the situations we have here in the state. State legislatures across the country, like in Maryland, are demonstrating benchmarks and best practices in this area that are innovative. We hope to see the state of Georgia join this growing movement toward a better food system for all Georgians. And thank you very much for allowing me to share my comments this morning.
Thank you, sir. All right, next, Ms. Janice Williams, Perry's Promise.
Different bill. Okay.
Okay, all right. Well, that's all we have. Any further questions or? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, I'd like to make a motion do pass.
Okay, now's a good time to do it.
I make a motion do pass.
All right, do pass Senator Jackson, and second Senator Goodman. He beat you to it. Sorry, Vice Chair. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand, your right hand, left hand, doesn't matter, just a hand. Just one, though. Any opposed? All right, it passed, Senator Jones, unanimously. And
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I believe it'll be going to the Rules Committee next.
Yes.
So I don't know if have you met the Rules Chairman?
Yes. We're good friends.
Good luck in Rules.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, now the esteemed senator from Chickamauga, which is the Indian. Chickamauga is Indian, Native American, and I've learned through my extensive study of our Native American culture that Chickamauga actually means, in English, land of great senator. So we are.
It's okay. You don't have any bills, right?
We are honored to hear from our esteemed Rules Chair, Senator Mullis, on Senate Bill 303.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and also let me commend the members of this esteemed committee for the work they do to make sure that Georgia's food trail is clean and in good shape, and you protect the citizens from all the evilness around the world. So thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Now, we'll be working off the substitute. Does everybody have that? I don't.
LC 510151S is what we have.
I don't have it, but that's okay. I can still fake it. I mean, I can still testify. No, I do have it right there. Okay. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this measure holds all who sell dogs accountable for the dogs they sell. I know that sounds simple, but it actually is. You know, I've been in the Senate for just a few years. Don't even say it. And we've had several of these bills, and they're all about the sale of dogs and the puppy mills that we do not want. However, if I could, yeah, I'll hear that one day when it goes to the well. But you know, let me, if you don't mind, let me tell you the song that I think we need to hold true to, and that is, how much is that doggy in the window? The one with the waggly tail. How much is that doggy in the window? Now, my fear would be, how much is that lizard in the window? Because we can't sell dogs anymore because of the puppy mill problem. And I want us to go back so there can be puppies in pet stores. And I know they are here and there, but not like they used to be, because of the horrendous way that they are, I don't want to say raised, but they are birthed and delivered and then continuing. And they need to be a service delivery strategy so that it won't be ridiculous and harmful to the mother dog. And, you know, in the future, whoever is our next agriculture commissioner will need to make sure that is attended to so we can clean up those kind of places and make sure puppies and other animals are delivered properly and humane-like. So this bill comes to me from a local person that I've become good friends with, and she's been working on volunteering for pets this morning and ran down here finding out that we had a meeting today. But if it's okay with you, I'd like to invite Miss Janice Williams to come up here. And
that's fine, Mr. Chairman. Come on up, Miss Janice.
And then another expert witness will be Frank. He'll come and join me and tell you all about the bill. Because I'll handle all the tough questions, but he'll come and give you all the easy questions.
Welcome, Janice. Janice Williams with Perry's Promise.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, she's up northwest Georgia with me.
In Walker County. First, I'd like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak and apologize for my appearance. I got 3 hours notice and I'm 2.5 hours away, so I didn't get to go home and change.
You look fine.
Thank you. I'm coming to testify. I'm not a lobbyist. I am boots on the ground, seeing these puppy mills and what they are. And the issue is really a twofold. These are businesses that are licensed in the state of Georgia, and they're breeding companion animals, which is what our legislators have named them, companion animals. Take the word puppy out of the puppy mill, because the puppies get sold at top dollar and go to loving homes. It's the breeder dogs that this bill addresses. They are, and I have been there, and I probably smell like it right now. It is the most deplorable conditions that you can imagine. These animals never have human contact. I have 2 in my home right now, and if you can get past the cute fuzzy little puppy, particularly with the high dollar small dogs, they require grooming, they require vet care. In a puppy mill, they get none of that. The ones that we pick up, most are blind or partially blind. I have one whose eyes had to be removed because they're never groomed. They live in filth, most of them in darkness. Their hair grows into their eyes. They're full of infection. With the 700 dog puppy mill in South Georgia, they were stacked floor to ceiling in crates. The law says 6 inches here, 6 inches from the back, they have to be able to stand up and turn around. They never come out of that. The one at the top expels, it runs to the next one, the next one, the next one. This particular puppy mill, they retrieved 700 breeder dogs from there. 2 months prior to that, the Department of Agriculture inspected them and counted 450 and gave them a pass. That's why we need this law. This isn't acceptable. If it's a companion animal, it's a companion. It doesn't live in filth. It doesn't get vet care. The puppies go out the door and they make a whole lot of money on those puppies. These dogs breed their entire lives. One that I have at my home who's had to be enucleated, which is both eyes removed, she reached past the breeding age, 5-pound Yorkie, big dollars for a 5-pound Yorkie. She was the breeding mother. She was almost 13. She and 9 other dogs were put in a crate on the side of Hedrick Road in Catoosa County with a fire lit in the middle of them. She had no hair when I got her except the top of the head and the backs of her legs. Her skin was horrible. She had to have her eyes removed. Massive mammary tumors from breeding and breeding and breeding. And those tumors easily turn to cancer. And with the males, if they're not neutered at a proper age, they run a high risk and often get testicular cancer. But in addition to this, with the puppy mills, we need legislation on how they properly dispose of an animal. If it's past the breeding age, I am telling you, they get beat with shovels, they get thrown in the woods, they get stomped, they get dumped. We have got to have some legislation for these dogs. And I know there are a lot of pet stores that have lobbyists that speak out about it, and my feeling on that, and I hope that yours will be also, if they don't use puppy mills, you don't have a dog in this fight, so sit down. You don't need to talk about it. If you do use puppy mills, use your millions of dollars that you are getting from the sale of the cute puppies and allow your breeders to have what they need to keep these animals safe and treated humane. There's a business aspect to it, and there's the breeder animal aspect. On the business aspect, I would like to share with you all, it's a business. What other business in this state can operate that way and require tens of thousands of your constituents to have to foot the bill to clean up that mess when there's a puppy mill raid? Because that's 700 dogs. When you hear the word rescue, you think happily ever after. These dogs, one that I have, it was 8 months before he could make eye contact with me without literally hurting himself trying to get away. He'd never seen daylight, so even the TV put him into trauma. It was over a year before I could actually touch him. So if you think about, in my case with him, 210 dogs, or the case with 700 dogs, who's going to take care of those animals? There aren't enough qualified homes because you can't group them all together. They're unsocialized. They need rehabilitation, terribly expensive vet care, and that is the mess that your constituents and the citizenry is paying for out of their own pockets, and it could be prevented. If they're going to operate as a business, operate cleanly, professionally, do it the right way, and don't leave the rest of the state of people that have to go beg for money for the vet bills and for the care of these dogs, not the puppies, the breeder dogs, because there just aren't enough people. I know people that have taken a second mortgage on their house to try to come up with the funds for the vet care that is required by for these animals when they come out of puppy mills. And it's an easy fix. Concrete floors that have drainage. If an animal is sick, it's isolated. Keep records of the vet care. Don't breed them until they've had a vet check to see if they have something genetic to pass on. We have one who breeds bulldogs, and it has the gene for cleft palate. So when the cleft palate puppies are born, she says she's doing the best thing for the puppy, and she suffocates them. Instead of stopping the breeding and getting it checked ahead of time, don't breed a dog that passes that gene along, because it's going to be a problem for somebody else, and it's going to end up in a shelter sooner or later. So those are my opinions. I would welcome any questions that you have that I can give you facts on how important this is.
And let me tell you, I've asked Ms. Williams not to bring pictures, or it had really got you interested.
Thank you, Ms. Williams, for your testimony. You're speaking in favor of this bill.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions? All right.
Thank you. I was just going to ask, what in your opinion, or is it defined in law, when does it become a puppy mill? How many dogs is that?
Well, I would like to say 20 if they're doing it responsibly, not 700. But it needs to be statewide at all levels, including the Department of Agriculture, to monitor them and be sure that they're doing it right. Puppy mills, the ones that, they're responsible breeders, don't get me wrong, but the puppy mills are the filth. They live in beautiful homes. You won't drive by and see a puppy mill if you're out driving anywhere. You won't see a puppy mill. You'll see a beautiful home. And the puppy mills are kept way back on a property where nobody else sees them and nobody hears them, because it's loud, it smells horrible, and it's filthy. So they keep them where nobody sees them or hears them, but they live in a beautiful home because they make a whole lot of money at it. But that is their business. So from the business standpoint, operate your business with integrity and do it right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that
Anybody else
question,
have any
Senator.
questions? I will be
Mr.
glad to
Chairman
answer.
Mullis, thank you, Ms. Williams.
Thank you, sir.
That'll be good. Did you want to go through the bill or have somebody come up?
Yeah,
and-
Frank, could you come up? And we're working off some substitutes again now. Ms. Williams started the bill off and helped me with the beginning, which is the basic bill, but we're moving a little further ahead of that.
All right.
Now, Frank is here to answer all the easy questions. I'm here doing the hard questions, if there are any of those.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, with your agreement, this is a pretty lengthy and comprehensive bill, and we are going to have another meeting Monday, so
Sure.
I think we'll just have a hearing on
Okay.
this today.
Yes, sir, thank you.
And then if senators want to talk with you between now and Monday of any concerns or
And look,
questions.
let me tell you, Mr. Chairman, I'm looking at this committee to help fine tune this bill or perfect the bill, if Mark Taylor used to say.
All right. Thank you. Now, Mr. Frank, tell us your full name and who you're with, who you represent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Frank Mulcahy. I represent the Georgia Canine Coalition. The Canine Coalition are breeders, yes, but their interest is in developing the breed and showing dogs. They work in many of your districts with dog shows, which are very profitable for your counties. I will say we absolutely do not have any members who are puppy mills. We are as appalled about puppy mills as Ms. Williams is, and as I suspect all of you are. When we breed dogs, we don't breed them as a full business. Most of our members try to recover their costs. And they spend a lot of money trying to develop good breeds and sell dogs to consumers. And that's the point of this bill as we have it now. Our members are both buyers and sellers of dogs. So we tried to craft a bill that was balanced. This doesn't, it holds everybody accountable. It holds the seller accountable for the quality of the animal that they are producing and selling. And it holds the buyer accountable so that they examine their product, the dog, when they receive it. And if they have a complaint, there is a process for the complaint to be resolved. And we think that this bill empowers our consumers in the state of Georgia to know that they have recourse. If they purchase a dog and it is sick and that should have been disclosed, there is recourse for that. If the dog is not as it is represented, there's recourse for that in this bill. It also protects the dogs in the state. To answer, I think Senator Goodman was asking the question about the number of dogs, or maybe Senator Jackson, how do you? In the state of Georgia, if you have more than 30 dogs, you're required to be licensed by the Department of Agriculture. We work a lot with the Department of Agriculture, and we try to, and we are examined, we are investigated, and we think we should be. I can't imagine the department going in to examine 700 dogs. Nonetheless, this bill is intended to balance the good and, not the good and the bad, the buyer and the seller. If the product, if the dog is not as represented, there is a time in which the buyer has to take the dog to a veterinarian, get the veterinarian's opinion as to the quality of the dog, and then allow the consumer to come back against the seller if things were not as they were represented. And that, we think, protects the dog and moves the state of Georgia against puppy mills, because the buyer now has a seller who gives notice of what they are doing, gives their name and address, all those sorts of identifying things, so they can come back against the seller. And if, hopefully, if any of these sellers are puppy mills and they're not putting out the dogs that they should, then they're not going to be able to stay in business in Georgia. It's not a direct attack on them, it's an indirect attack on puppy mills. And I could go through the bill, but let me stop there and see if there are any questions. I'll be glad to do it, or I will be around. Senator Bullis knows how to get a hold of me over the next few days, before Monday, if there are any additions to the bill. Certainly, it would all be glad to look at them.
And Mr. Chairman, originally my bill kind of went over the top a little bit, and I want to be reasonable, but I want to make sure that we can solve this problem. We've been talking about this for several years here in the Senate alone, and I'm sure in the legislature, but there's a way we can get to this to make sure that the consumer's protected, the animal's protected, and the ones who are doing business properly are protected, and the rest are persecuted if need be.
Mr. Frank, so you mentioned the 30, if 30 dogs or more, they have to be registered with the Department of Agriculture.
That's not in this bill.
Right, but you stated
That's
that.
current law.
And I remember us debating that, and that's kind of a sort of a high number, but a litter of puppies could be, I guess, 7, 8 puppies. I don't know a lot about dogs, but.
Yeah, 30 may sound high, but some breeds have 7 or 8, and you might have 2 or 3 breeding dogs.
Right. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
However, this bill does apply to, it looks like to me, just even casual sellers. If you look at line 29, the definition of seller looks like any person who transfers ownership of dogs to the public for value and shall include animal shelters. So somebody that is just casually in this, or even if they have a good breed of dog and their dog has puppies and they want to sell a one-off type situation,
Correct.
It would apply to them. It looks like
It would
to me.
apply. It would apply to any
Is
business.
that y'all's intent?
Yes, and we want some good record keeping too, so the Department of Agriculture, we can help them do their job in the future with this too.
So the intent is, even if I'm just a dog owner and my dog has puppies and I'm not really in the business at all, and I sell one puppy, this applies to me.
That would apply, yes, sir.
Okay. That's really the only question I have.
Mr. Chairman, if I've seen this happen a lot of time, you have to have permits to sell cars, but you'll see someone will pull 4 or 5 cars in their yard and they'll sell those, and they're doing actually the same kind of business as a dealer would be. They're just kind of doing it around the back door. So we're just wanting a good record keeping, make sure we can take care of our pets and animals.
So this board's lit up now. All right. Number 8 is Senator Anderson.
We're not dealing with cattle right now.
Mr. Chairman and Frank, bouncing off of what the chairman said. So someone's got 30 or more dogs has to have a license.
And that's current law, right?
That's current law. That's correct.
But then at the same time, you're saying somebody that just has a couple of dogs and maybe breed them every other year, they're going to have to abide by the same rules.
Well, that's what this bill intends. However, we're open to your perfection, Mr. Chairman.
Well,
Go ahead,
well,
Frank.
what is it if they are like a
They under the
contract?
same guidelines as the
In
man
terms
that's
of
got
buying and
30
se-
dogs.
In terms of buying and selling, yes, they would have the same guidelines. The licensing requirements from the Department of Agriculture puts in a variety of requirements on those who are selling dogs, and those requirements are as to preclude those things as Ms. Williams mentioned, which our members would not have, and that is stacking crates of dogs and just using them as a commodity.
So it don't even have to be a purebred dog.
That's right. This bill would not
But
have.
you would still have to be under the same guidelines.
Yeah, we're just trying to protect the dog that's not being protected currently.
Let's go to line 115 to 117.
I don't have a bill. Y'all have an extra bill we could look at?
I think I would substitute.
Thank you, dude.
I'm sorry, Senator, you said line.
115 through 117.
Okay. Yes.
Who collects the $100?
Who do you think should?
Well, I'm just asking
Yeah.
you, who collects?
I would,
And who determines that that puppy was under 8 weeks?
well, a veterinarian can determine that roughly.
Well,
Roughly. Shows the age of the puppy. That's pretty standard in the industry that you don't want to be.
Well, I'm just asking,
Yeah.
who determines that it's over 8 weeks, and who collects the money? If it's
Well,
over-
the veterinarian who the consumer
So
would consult
the vet can look
would
at that
determine
puppy and say he's over 8 weeks.
He would examine it and get it pretty close to it.
I'm just asking.
Sure, no. But the $100, I don't think is specified in there. I think the $100 probably should go either to the Department of Agriculture, or it should go to the buyer, if the buyer chooses to keep the
But at
dog.
the same time, who collects it?
That'd be up to the,
I
That'd
mean,
be up
does
to
the
the buyer.
sheriff collect it, or the dog pound collects it, or?
I believe the Department of Agriculture.
Here.
Yeah, let the council vary. I believe the Department of Agriculture has the enforcement authority for that entire title. So they would be, it would be incumbent on them to collect that, and then that would go back to the Department of Agriculture. It wouldn't go to buyer, it wouldn't go to, it wouldn't be collected by the veteran, but it would be.
That's a fee for
Different.
inspection or?
All right.
Okay.
So, the line 115 that they're talking about isn't the inspection fee, it's the
Here.
selling a puppy under 8 weeks of age fine. So unless you're, if you're talking about a different fee, that's a different matter maybe, but that's what we're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that would be enforced by the.
Do you have further
I got
questions?
one more.
Yes, sir.
Another one?
And then, let's go down to 125 to 127.
yes.
On returning the puppy. Am I reading that your vet bill cannot exceed over the price of the puppy? Did I read that right?
That's right. Yes, sir.
Well, what if I'm that guy that just got some mixed up dogs and I breed them and then I got a litter and I don't sell them but for $25 a piece? And then the vet bill is $150. So how did...
Well, the balance we try to strike with
So
that.
where are you gonna find a vet to take care of the puppy for $25?
Probably not. But we don't want to put too extravagant a cost on the seller or on the buyer. But if the buyer is unhappy with the purchase, then it's incumbent on him to go to the vet, and possibly a vet will cut him a good deal if he says.
I could see these
Right.
type of situations coming up.
They could come
That's
up.
all I have at the time.
Thank you,
They could
Mr.
come up.
Vice Chair. All right, I don't know who hit first, so I'm gonna go to Senator Jackson, Mike 13, and then I'm gonna get this side.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm curious about on line 87. It talks about there being a 7 days space that the buyer has in order to get a veterinarian to check this dog out. The consumer has that. Can you tell me how you came to that place of it only being 7 days?
Well, we discussed it with some of our members, and we're trying to strike the balance where it's not stretched out for too long, but it's what we hope would be sufficient time to get the dog to the vet, have the vet examine the dog, and come to a conclusion about it. The 7 days is not a sacred number.
Yeah. I wonder if you might be amenable to making those business days. I'm thinking about, the person who purchases the dog on a Thursday and then it's a holiday weekend. And here in Atlanta, it's very hard to get a veterinarian see a dog that's not in an emergent state within 7 days. And so I think it would be helpful for those of us who have limited access to veterinarians to have that timeline extended.
We would be very amenable to that, and thank you for helping us with this.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair, I believe it is business days.
Okay. We need to make sure.
Look at line 83, it says within the 7 business day period.
Oh, okay, there it is.
Yeah.
We were just sitting at Legislative Council where, remember, the bill he wrote.
Okay, any other questions, Senator Jackson? That's you got that answer right. All right, Mike 2, is that Senator
I'll be
Burns?
Mike too, Mr. Chairman, if that's okay. Just a question, the definition of more than 30 dogs, these are breeding dogs?
No.
Any dog?
Yes.
So if I'm a trainer, if I have a kennel and I train dogs, which I have in my district, especially hunting dogs, pointers, bird dogs, things like that, I would be under this same requirement? Whether it's less than 30 or more than 30, the question is, if it's more than 30, I've got to be licensed through the Department of Agriculture. If I have fewer than 30 dogs, they're not breeding. These are not animals designed, at least initially, for breeding. They're developing dogs. They're being trained and maybe field trialed and tested along those lines.
So you're saying your dog's going to be taken care of?
Oh, they will be, because they're top line blood with a great deal of investment. And my concern is, if I sell that animal, if I've developed it and I've sold it, would it come under this law?
Yes.
I have the same restrictions, same requirements. And again, back to the chairman's question, I might not have but 2 or 3 breeding age animals, and I might not, as you know, the market, the environment, a lot of times there's a lot of horse trading, right, across breeders and across trainers. And would this bill in any way restrict their ability to engage in that type of legitimate activity?
This bill doesn't prohibit any transactions like that. I would say you fall back on your contract law. You can make a contract to do anything or any price.
And also, Mr. Chairman, I would also recommend the 30's existing law. If we need to adjust that, or if we need to amend it to say certain type of dogs that are trained or whatever. I mean, my intention is to find a way to have safe puppy breeding for, commerce.
Just one follow-up, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I think we agree on what our objectives are.
Right.
We support your bill. We support the concept. We look forward to finding a way to make it work across all situations if possible. But I would like to just point out that not all kennels are in the process or in the business of breeding large numbers of animals. And they would then, I just don't want this bill to be more constraining for the small, especially the small operators. Most breeders and developers in this area, they don't have a large number of animals.
Yeah, and I would imagine that most breeders, the dog industry you're talking about, I'm sure most of them are in good shape and are high level, but I'm sure there's some in that don't do it properly either.
You are correct, Mr. Chairman, and they're treated like racehorses.
That's the top level.
It's a different animal. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
I'm not going to speak for the Department of Agriculture, but in our dealings with the Department of Agriculture, they're very concerned about the puppy mills, but they feel that a lot of folks who breed dogs, such as Senator Burns, and a lot of our people, and in fact, we demand that of our people that they be in compliance with all state laws. But those are not the problems. The problems are elsewhere.
Thank you. Senator Hatchett, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looking at lines going back to 115, 116, no person shall deliver for sale or transfer a dog that is under 8 weeks of age. I think there may need to be an exception carved out for, if you find a dog on the side of the road, the mom got hit, she has a litter, you're not expected to keep those dogs by yourself, and if you give it to your neighbor, you're not going to be fined $100. I think that needs to be, and that might be an issue that
a good Samaritan scenario in there.
Yeah, the reason for that 8 weeks is that they don't want to take puppies away from their mother in less than 8 weeks.
But if the mother's dead,
or then that could happen even if.
And we'd hate have to reserve to call a lawyer for a lawsuit that could be pending. Even though lawyers got to eat too.
It's true.
I think we find that exception there, Senator.
And then the next concern that I had would just be boarding facilities for dogs. There's a boarding facility up in my neck of the woods called Mountain Pet Resort that I know they have a lot more than 30 dogs at a time, but they're just for boarding. And I don't know if I don't think they sell any dogs, but would they fall under this, or would there be a carve out for boarding facilities or even veterinarians that board dogs?
Yeah, this is just having to do with selling dogs.
Okay.
If they're boarding them, or a vet with a boarding facility, I don't think they'd be covered by this.
Okay.
All right. Senator Summers, do you have a question?
Several, Mr. Chairman.
A series of questions.
A series of questions. I'm sure there's short answers. I don't like puppy mills. I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm all for stopping puppy mills, okay? I have no issue with that whatsoever. I'm concerned about what Senator from 24th just said in regards to, like, I know a lady right now that's breeding her lab. She only breeds him she bred him twice. Everybody wants a puppy from this lab.
Sure.
But she's just an individual in the middle of nowhere, in middle Georgia, selling about 4 to 6 puppies, whatever she gets out of her lab, and everybody's waiting for one of those puppies. I'm not sure she needs to fall under this. I don't know how to tell you that. I'm just offering that as a thought. That's number one. Number two, what happens if the puppy mills move across state line and just start selling puppies back in Georgia? I mean, all they got to do is go over there and offer Dobermans and Rottweilers and Chihuahuas and whatever for sale, and poodles, and bam, 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 bam. They can sell them, trust me.
Oh, I know that. Well, it'd be like selling anything else interstate.
Not necessarily. They know where to track them.
Yeah.
And then going back, can I keep going?
Sure,
if you don't mind?
sure.
who polices this? As Senator asked you, we're saying the Department of Agriculture, but I don't know that the Department of Agriculture has somebody that's going to go out and write somebody a ticket and make them, be a good guy. I want them to, and I don't think they can. I'm just asking. I don't know how you're going to get that on that level of it. And then the last one, well, actually, two more questions is, how do you force a seller to give you money back? You may get shot. You buy a dog from somebody and you give them $1,500 and you go back over and say, this dog ain't mine, he's stupid, the dog has not got any sense. I want my money back. Well, I got news for you. I don't know if that seller's going to give you money back. That's going to be a domestic dispute then it's going to open up another can of worms.
Now, you could be overplaying this one, but okay.
Last question then. What's the Veterinarian Association weighted on this? What has been their take on this?
We haven't communicated with them. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Thanks, Senator.
I would say
All
if they're
right,
against it, they'd let us know, but we haven't.
We're running out of time. We've got one more question. Okay. Clearly a lot of interest in this, a lot of people wanting to help you with this, Mr. Chairman.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm not really hugely prepared like I should be, but I've been overwhelmed a little bit. And I want to thank Frank here and also Miss Williams. Miss Williams is a volunteer back home, and we have some I don't want to call them pounds, but local government that have what are they called? What's the word I'm trying to say?
Rescue.
Animal shelters.
Animal shelters that don't do a good job, and their animals teams or their enforcement don't do a good job either. And we don't expect the Department of Agriculture to have to police all those, but they need to be a system that works and makes sure that we're all playing right so we can get the best animals out and take care of our beloved pets.
Can I just say one more thing, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
This is really setting up a framework for a contract. It would be the same as buying or selling any other product. If you are unhappy with the product, then you go and try to get your money back, and if not, then you file a lawsuit.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Important issue. I wonder if it might not be a good idea to put some money in the state budget for somebody in the Department of Ag to police, beef up the enforcement of these puppy mills.
Let me say, everybody on this committee would agree with that, and we'll all write letters supporting it.
Now, this is a kind of outside of this measure, but that's something for us to think about.
What do you think?
All right. Any other business to come before the committee? We're going to have a pretty busy agenda on Monday, so please be here. I need a quorum. I need y'all's input and help. Thank you, and we stand adjourned.
Hey.